Somewhere deep in bear country lives the Bernstein bear family. They're kind of furry around the torso. They're a lot like people, only more.
Good evening. In the news tonight, the Knox County Sheriff's Department is stepping up patrols on Vincennes' south side, and at least 19 people have died in attacks around Iraq today.
In sports, it's official. Mike Davis is out at IU. And the VU Trailblazers have a big game on tap tonight against rival Wabash Valley College.
Newscenter 22 is next. Three Knox County residents are facing theft charges tonight for stealing truck parts from a Vincennes business. Deputies arrested the trio last night after receiving a complaint that people were loading parts into a pickup truck behind TLT Trucking on old US 41 South. Meanwhile, sheriff deputies arrived. The truck was just leaving. Arrested were 25-year-old Scott Shaner, 40-year-old Bishop Stanley, both of Bicknell, and 35-year-old Ida Thomas of Vincennes. Sheriff Steve Luce says deputies have been trying to keep a closer watch on that area due to recent reports of thefts, vandalism, and arson. Meanwhile, no arrests have been made in connection with an arson fire this week in that same area. The Tuesday night fire damaged a portion of Powdered Coat paint shop on old US 41 South. It was the latest in a string of arson fires in and near Vincennes. The fire started in a lean-to type storage area attached to the main building. Fire officials say damage to the main building was not as severe. A Plainville man pleaded guilty Wednesday to murdering an Odin man in May of last year. 21-year-old Jake Carroll entered the plea in Davies County Circuit Court. He's accused of shooting 20-year-old Timothy Pruitt at an Elnora residence following an apparent dispute over a woman. Sentencing is set for early May. He faces between 45 and 65 years in prison. The public will soon be able to join a walking club thanks to Vincennes Parks Department and National Park Service. Park Superintendent Steve Beeman says the Walk to the Parks program is intended to help people start a fitness program. Beeman says walking is one of the easiest forms of exercise.
Brisk pace for 15-20 minutes a day, and it's kind of an equivalent to working out 3 times a week hard.
Beeman says those who take part can choose from one of 12 national parks to walk to. He says the Parks Department will give away pedometers to the first 75 people who sign up. The program kicks off February 27th. Vincennes Mayor Terry Mooney today announced the appointment of Dr. Robert Bailey to the Vincennes Parks and Recreation Board. Dr. Bailey is a lifelong resident of Vincennes and works for a forensic examiner and litigation consultant. The federal government granted Martin County's request to switch to the Central Time Zone last month, but county officials have changed their minds. Martin County initially wanted to change time zones to match its neighbors, but now it hopes neighbors will make the switch instead. Martin County officials are drafting a resolution calling for a united move of all southwestern Indiana counties, including Knox County, to move from Central to Eastern Standard Time. Evansville-Mesker Park Zoo is scaling back expansion plans. Increased construction costs have forced the zoo to delay plans for a new rainforest exhibit, as well as a new entry complex and offices. The expansion now won't be completed until early 2008. A 4th person is now charged in last weekend's escape at Cooks County Jail. Michelle Rise is the girlfriend of Jose Romero, whose brother was among the inmates who fled. Jose Romero and his sister Anna were charged yesterday with 4 counts for their role in the jailbreak. And former jail guard Darren Gator, pictured here, faces 7 felony counts in connection with the escape. Millions of tickets were sold, but none of them correctly matched the 6 winning numbers in the multi-state Powerball lottery game. As a result, Wednesday's $300 million jackpot went unclaimed. hiking the size of the kitty to $365 million for Saturday's drawing. That sets a new North America lottery jackpot record. Still to come on Newscenter 22, a British man accused of killing his wife and baby daughter pleaded not guilty during his arraignment in Boston this afternoon. And the Senate has rejected an effort to block passage of a tuned-up Patriot Act. Stay with us.
There is a place deep in the heart of the Pacific. A place where adventure is born. Jean-Michel Cousteau's Ocean Adventures.
A British man accused of killing his wife and baby daughter pleaded not guilty during his arraignment in suburban Boston this afternoon. Neil Entwistle flew to his native England a day after the murders and was arrested there last week. He was flown back to the U.S. on Tuesday. Court documents describe Entwistle as a secretive man who was sinking into debt. They say in the days before the killings, he was on the internet looking for sexual partners and for information on ways to kill people and commit suicide. The number of deaths are climbing in Iraq in the wake of a series of bombings and shootings around the country. Authorities say the 19 people killed today include 3 tribal sheiks and the brother of an Iraqi official. Elsewhere in the city, a car bomb aimed at an American military patrol killed 6 civilians and wounded 11 others. The White House is rejecting a UN report that says the U.S. should shut down the prison for terror suspects at Guantanamo Bay and either release the detainees there or put them on trial. President Bush's spokesman says these are dangerous terrorists that we're talking about. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice lobbied Congress on Wednesday for $75 million to build democracy in Iran. Some of it would be used to beam TV and radio into the country. This would be on top of hundreds of millions already spent on news and public relations in the region, much of it falling on deaf ears. Tom Foreman reports.
It's the war, it's the war, it's the war. The single biggest event driving down global public opinion of the United States still seems to be the fact that the U.S. is in Iraq without broader international support. The war can be a tough sell at home.
I don't see, Madam Secretary, how things are getting better. I think things are getting worse.
But now a new worldwide survey of people in 33 nations has come down hard on the U.S. Stephen Cull conducted it.
Yes, there is a perception that the U.S. is unpredictable, that the U.S. isn't listening to other countries, and the U.S. feels free to act independently.
In every country surveyed, the nations of Europe collectively were seen as a mainly positive influence on the world, and Japan, France, Great Britain, India, and China all individually outranked the United States. This comes despite millions of dollars in initiatives by the White House to improve world relations. There have been foreign tours by a special undersecretary for public diplomacy, efforts to expand positive radio, TV, and newspaper coverage in anti-American places, even a failed attempt to start a pro-American teen magazine in the Arab world, and of course, many, many public assurances.
Our enemies and our friends can be certain. The United States will not retreat from the world, and we will never surrender to evil.
The report is not entirely bleak. Interestingly, Afghanistan is one of the nations which gave the United States high marks, more than 70% approval. This whole business of surveying world public opinion is in its infancy. Some of the samples aren't that big, and the margin for error could be fairly wide. It's worth noting, too, that the survey was seeking opinions about only 8 individual nations. Still, of all these countries you surveyed, is anybody doing worse than us?
There is one country that has more negative ratings in the world than the United States, and that is Iran.
yes, Iran, as international images go, not exactly the gold standard. Tom Foreman, CNN, Washington.
The Patriot Act is a step closer to being renewed. The Senate has overwhelmingly defeated an effort by Wisconsin Senator Russ Feingold to stop it until more limits on government power can be added. Feingold is working on several proposed amendments to improve the civil liberties protections, but he says Republicans probably won't allow votes on them. He says that reduces the upcoming debate to a shim. Congress is moving to renew 16 key provisions of the anti-war law that are scheduled to expire in 3 weeks. Doctors in Texas say 78-year-old Harry Whittington is in good spirits and may go home in a few days. Whittington was accidentally shot by Vice President Dick Cheney during a hunting trip over the weekend. The Sheriff's Department in Kennedy County, where the shooting occurred, said today that no charges will be filed against Cheney. The Bush administration is defending its approval of a sale that gives a firm in the United Arab Emirates significant control over 6 U.S. ports. Lawmakers question the UAE's record on terrorism. The White House says the deal was rigorously reviewed. A rock fall in a Kentucky coal mine this morning has left a man dead, raising America's toll from mine fatalities to 20 so far this year. It happened near Hazard, Kentucky, as the miner, a roof bolter, moved equipment from one location to another. Meanwhile, federal regulators have cited the West Virginia mines, where 14 men died last month, for several safety violations since those deadly accidents. The citations include alleged violations of rules involving ventilation and explosives. There are thousands still on record as missing in New Orleans. The sad truth, of course, is that many of those people are likely dead, but if they are listed as missing, that means their bodies still haven't been found. And as we say, that's the sad truth. Now, even sadder truth, or the sad question, with the rubble removing machinery about to get working, will those bodies ever be found? Sean Caleb's reports.
A grim sign, and the only indication that today, yet another body has been removed from a New Orleans home nearly 6 months after Katrina.
Put this in the person's mouth. Beep.
Normally, doctors would use forensic techniques to try to identify the body. But the state medical examiner, Dr. Louis Cataldi, says he no longer has the equipment. Why? FEMA built this enormous new morgue about an hour north of New Orleans to do just this kind of examination on what authorities feared would be 10 to 20,000 people killed in the storm. It cost $17 million, but after examining only 60 bodies, FEMA shut it down Monday, saying its work was done and keeping it open would cost $230,000 a week.
Oh, would I like to have the use of the facility? Sure. Do I understand that there's a timeline and there's a, they need to pull their staff out? Absolutely.
FEMA officials didn't want to go on camera, but pointed out that they told Cataldi in December they would be closing the site. Still, FEMA has no clear plans for the facility, so the bunk beds, washers and dryers, and gym equipment for its staff are being mothballed. The high-tech autopsy gear already shipped out. Cataldi says he thought by now most of the 2,100 people still listed as missing would have been accounted for, but as it turns out, he's still expecting to find scores more bodies.
We certainly feel we have, depending on rough estimates, 60 to 100 bodies in the 9th Ward, so folks that need to be recovered.
But in a sign of just how many problems New Orleans faces and how those problems are so often connected, not only is the $17 million morgue off limits, the city also doesn't have the $400,000 it would cost to find the bodies and hasn't been able to get the money from FEMA.
It's extremely frustrating, and it's been frustrating since we shut down.
Steve Glenn is the chief of the fire department's special ops unit. From October until December 10th, he worked with teams using cadaver dogs going through the debris from splintered homes. He tells CNN the dogs made at least 58 hits, meaning probable human remains. FEMA says the city should go ahead and look for the bodies and then ask FEMA to reimburse it for the $400,000 it costs. The The cash-strapped city says it needs the money first because it only has enough cash to pay firefighters for emergency operations.
You know, I've talked to a number of officials, and it always just kind of seems to go in a circle. We always end up right back where we started.
And I don't understand that.
Lamont Marrero's invalid mother rode out the hurricane in her house. No one has seen her since. He's convinced she's buried in debris.
You have 58 bodies and you're not trying to do anything. You're going to close the facility, and people still looking for their family.
That's right. The government spent $17 million to build this facility, but now is closing it before it's even figured out how to recover and identify the rest of the bodies still buried in the debris. To families here, it all looks like yet another bureaucratic dead end. I spoke with a FEMA representative in Washington, D.C., and she says she believes that needed $400,000 will quickly be freed up, putting firefighters back on the job and hopefully ending months of anguish for scores of families here. Sean Caleb's, CNN, in New Orleans, 9th Ward.
Despite gloomy forecasts, the latest housing figures show new home construction is growing at the fastest pace in more than 30 years. Record-breaking warm weather across the U.S. is getting some of the credit for the reported construction jump. And finally tonight, some kids at a middle school in Pensacola, Florida were allegedly paying $1 a day to their gym teacher so he let them sit out of his class. The man has now turned himself in to face bribery charges. Officials say he may have taken in thousands of dollars. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Michael Nye says it could be a bumpy evening weather-wise. Stay with us.
Tune in to WVUT this Thursday night. Watch This Old House at 8. At 9, Antiques Roadshow appraises NASA collectibles, a set of Wvut Fairyland lusterware, and a watch that once belonged to Mickey Mantle. At 10, National Geographic's Dawn of the Maya shows that the great Maya civilization was already flourishing around the time of Christ, suffered a collapse, and went through a great resurgence all before the Europeans arrived. Thursday night on WVUT.
Michael, it looks as if severe weather is approaching the Wabash Valley.
That's right, Kristen. We do have some severe weather on its way. I'd like to pass on now some information from the National Weather Service. We have some watches and warnings in effect for our area. Tornado watch in effect in Illinois in Lawrence County, Crawford County, Richland, Wabash, Edwards, and White County. And here in Indiana, Knox, Davies, Sullivan, Greene, and Martin County, all under a tornado watch until 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central. That means conditions are favorable for tornadoes. No tornadoes spotted yet, though. And we still have that wind advisory in effect for the entire viewing area until 6 a.m. tomorrow, where we have winds as high, gusts as high as 35 miles per hour. Currently outside our area right now, we can see that cloudy skies beginning to move in the Vincennes area. Some really impressive clouds starting to form out to the west in Illinois. Out at the airport, cloudy skies, some light rain showers starting to fall. 61 degrees is the temperatures. Winds south-southwest at 21 miles per hour. Gusts as high as 35 right now. That's likely to increase as the night progresses. Humidity at 83% and the barometric pressure 29.81 and rising. Now our temperatures around the area, we can see that across the river in Olney, they're at 63 degrees. Up in Linton, 61 degrees. They're having some rain showers as well starting to fall. And then down in Huntingburg, 63 degrees. And then up in Sullivan, also at 60 degrees currently. Our national temperature map will show that we have very frigid cold temperatures across the United States. That's due to this Arctic air mass that's moving its way into the United States. It's going to continue to push its way east, bringing cold temperatures through much of our nation. We can see this very defined cold front moving its way through. Our surface map will show that what's causing these cold temperatures, we can see that this very impressive and dominant frontal system extending all the way from northern Washington down into Texas and up into Maine. Now what we're concentrating on is this very massive storm. Started out in the Great Basin yesterday. This low pressure system created snow showers, creating snow as high as a foot over in Green Bay, Wisconsin. For us though, we have a storm system moving its way over into the Wabash Valley, and it's going to be pushing its way in tonight. We already have reports of tornado warnings east of St. Louis. This storm is moving east-northeast, and it's going to continue to bring its way into our area. Looking at our forecast for tonight, though, a rain-snow mix likely. It's going to turn into some snow later on tonight. Severe thunderstorms are possible. For tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Things are going to clear up and a high of 33 degrees. Tomorrow night, cloudy skies continue, low of 23, and your extended forecast for Saturday, 29 degrees is the high. For Sunday, 33 degrees will have the high, partly cloudy skies. And Monday, cloudy skies, even some possible snow flurries or showers. We're still looking into that, high of 38 degrees. So, Kristen, some severe weather on its way. Take cover if you need to, and just watch out for those winds as well.
All right, thank you, Michael. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Indiana University is in the market for a new basketball coach. Amy Reef will have the details coming up in sports. Stay with us.
Public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, February 25th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. The show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
The Mike Davis era is over. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Amy Reef. Indiana basketball coach Mike Davis is resigning after months of speculation and increased criticism during the Hoosiers' late-season slump. He made the announcement this afternoon in Bloomington. Davis will remain with his team throughout the end of this season. He has 2 years left on his contract. Davis has won 109 games since he took over from Bob Knight in 2000. He took the Hoosiers to the NCAA Finals in 2002, losing to Maryland in the championship game. The Vincennes University Trailblazers host arch-rival Wabash Valley College tonight in the Physical Education Complex. The Blazers defeated the Warriors 81-67 at Mount Carmel, Illinois earlier this season. VU is 21-5 overall and carry a 3-game winning streak into tonight's contest. The VU Lady Blazers play the Wabash Valley women's team at 5 o'clock prior to the men's game. The Blazer co-eds have won 6 out of their last 8 ball games, despite having only 6 players on the roster. Tonight's VU men's game will be broadcast live on Blazer 91.1. The pregame show gets underway at 6:30 with the tip-off set for 7 o'clock. On the college hardwood last night, Rich McBride scored 17 points, and Dee Brown single-handedly squashed a Northwestern rally to lead number 14 Illinois to a 63-47 victory. After Northwestern wiped out a 27-20 halftime deficit to tie the game at 29, Brown hit a three-pointer and converted a 4-point play on consecutive possessions to give the Illini a 36-29 lead. The Illini held on to third place in the Big Ten with the win. Wisconsin beat number 12 Ohio State 78-73. Alondo Rucker had 27 points and 16 boards as the Badgers won their 3rd in a row. Trailing 64-59, the Badgers scored 7 straight points, 5 by Ray Nixon and 2 free throws by Tucker to take their first lead since midway through the first half. Tucker finished 7 of 11 from the foul line, where he's shooting 53% this year. Wisconsin took sole possession of 2nd place in the Big Ten, 1 game behind Iowa. The 23rd ranked North Carolina Tar Heels rallied from an 18-point deficit to beat Georgia Tech 92-75. Freshman Tyler Hansbrough had 40 points and 10 rebounds. That's a Smith Center scoring record. Hansbrough also set the school's freshman scoring record in leading the Tar Heels to their 5th win in 6 games. Hansbrough broke Carolina's freshman mark of 31 points, held by Mike O'Corin, J.R. Reed, Walter Davis, and Antoine Jamison. Oklahoma State basketball coach Eddie Sutton acknowledged yesterday that he drank alcohol before an automobile accident. The accident put him in the hospital and cast doubt on his coaching future. During a late-night news conference, the 69-year-old Sutton said he would seek treatment for alcoholism during his medical leave of absence. Oklahoma State President David Schmidley said Sutton's future would be addressed after he returns from his medical leave. Sutton's son, Sean Sutton, will continue to coach the Cowboys for the interim. LeBron James had 43 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists for his 4th triple-double of the season, and Cleveland overcame Paul Pierce's 50-point performance to beat the Boston Celtics 113-109 in double overtime. Pierce shot 17 for 36 from the field and 16 for 20 from the free-throw line. He's the first Celtic to score 50 since Larry Bird had 50 in 1989. Sean Marion had 21 points and 12 rebounds, and the Phoenix Suns beat Denver 16-101 in a matchup of division leaders. Raja Bell added 20 points, Steve Nash added 19 points and 12 assists for the Pacific Division leading Suns. Phoenix was 14 for 25 on three-pointers. Carmelo Anthony led Denver with 29 points. The Northwest Division leading Nuggets missed all 14 of their three-point shots. Anthony Johnson scored 24 points to lead the Indiana Pacers past Milwaukee 88-77. Peja Stojakovic had 16 of his 20 in the second half for the Pacers. The Pacers have won 5 of their last 6 games. They are off for the All-Star break until they play New Orleans on Tuesday. Orlando is putting the finishing touches on a trade with the Detroit Pistons for Darko Milicic, the #2 pick in the 2003 draft, for Kevin Cato and a first-round draft pick. The trade is not official yet and has not been announced by either team. Kerry Wood made about 75 throws off flat ground today as spring training got underway for the Chicago Cubs in Arizona. But there's still no timetable for when Wood will be able to pitch again for the Cubs. While the team says his rehabilitation from shoulder surgery is progressing, he probably won't be ready by opening day. Sammy Sosa probably has played his final major league game. His agent says Sosa most likely will retire after rejecting a Washington Nationals non-guaranteed contract offer laden with performance incentives. Sosa ranks 5th on the career home run list with 588, but he batted only .221 with 14 homers and 45 RBIs for Baltimore last year. Seth Westcott is the first gold medalist in snowboard cross. Westcott has produced the 6th gold medal for the United States by winning the event near Torino, Italy. Gold medal favorite June Nielsen of Canada came away with a sore back and pelvis after getting tripped up by a Polish competitor. And Kristen, that's a look at sports.
Thank you, Amy. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Jeannie Mose reports on Dick Cheney and late night comedy. Stay with us.
Coming up this week on 22 Magazine, Vincennes University Athletic Director Denny Myers talks about VU's sports program. And Becky Bouchy of Sign for Kids and Vincennes school teacher Chrissy Lang will talk about a petition drive that begins March 8th on the Vincennes School Corporation's $57 million building plan. The next time on 22 Magazine, Saturday night at 7:30 on WVUT.
Comedians had a field day with the news that Vice President Dick Cheney had accidentally shot a fellow sportsman while quail hunting in Texas over the weekend. But it wasn't so funny when doctors announced the shooting victim later suffered a heart attack. He's in stable condition, but as Jeannie Mose reports, the comedians may never recover.
Hunters aren't the only ones taking aim. Good shot. Comedians are the best shots. On Monday, Letterman made Cheney jokes a recurring theme throughout his show. Once the vice president's unintended victim had a heart attack, the press proclaimed no joke, at least recipe.
And that's all for now. Join us again tomorrow. For Amy Reef and Michael Nice, I'm Kristen Miller. Good night.